Introducing Korean broadcast content that you won't be able to stop watching. For weary modern souls, Dr. Romantic, the quirky genius doctor of Puldam Hospital, prescribes heartwarming tales of humanity. A couple together for 7 years sees their rose-tinted glasses shatter. Can they keep their relationship alive? Discover the raw stories of youth, work, and love. Beyond what social media can show, experience the vibrant Korea through its hidden gems. Mama, the ultimate K-pop festival for global fans. Find your star in a feast of trendy music and electrifying performances. Now, the whole world enjoys it together.
The United States carried out new strikes against Iran after President Donald Trump said he is not satisfied yet with the terms of a deal being negotiated. This comes after Iranian state television said the draft deal with Washington included lifting U.S. naval restrictions on Iran and reopening the Strait of Hormuz. The Bank of Korea has kept its key interest rate steady, marking the bank's 8th straight rate freeze since May last year. The decision appears to reflect concerns over inflation, slowing growth, and geopolitical risks. Starting today, Korea enters a 6-day polling blackout period ahead of the June 3rd local elections and parliamentary by-elections. 2-day early voting is set to begin tomorrow, allowing voters to cast their ballots at any early voting station across the country, regardless of where they're registered. Hello and thanks for joining us on Arirang News. The U.S. military carried out new strikes in Iran, targeting military drone sites after U.S. President Donald Trump said he remains unsatisfied with the terms of a potential deal with Iran. Our Cho Young-eun starts us off.
The U.S. military conducted new strikes against Iran on Wednesday after Tehran launched drones toward commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz. According to administration officials, U.S. forces shot down 4 Iranian drones and struck a drone control station near Bandar Abbas that officials said posed a threat to commercial shipping in the strategic waterway. The strikes came hours after U.S. President Donald Trump said during a cabinet meeting that he is not satisfied yet with the terms being discussed in ongoing negotiations with Iran. Trump also said he would not be rushed into a deal and that Iran's efforts to outweigh him would not work, adding he does not care about the midterms.
Iran is very much intent. They want very much to make a deal. So far, they haven't gotten there. We're not satisfied with it, but we will be. We will be either that or we'll have to just finish the job.
His remarks followed a report on Iranian state television on the same day that gave details of a draft memorandum of understanding that included the lifting of U.S. naval restrictions on Iran, the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, and the withdrawal of U.S. forces from the Gulf. The White House dismissed the report outline as complete fabrication. Trump also said that under a potential framework deal with Tehran, the Strait of Hormuz would open immediately and would not be controlled by any country.
Nobody's going to control it. We're going to watch over it. We'll watch over it, but nobody's going to control it. That's part of the negotiation that we have. They would like to control it. Nobody's going to control it. It's international waters.
Also at the meeting, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio appeared to address the absence of any mention of Iran's nuclear program in the report on Iranian television by reiterating that Iran will never be allowed to obtain a nuclear weapon.
I think there's been some progress and some interest, and we'll see over the next few hours and days whether progress could be made.
Trump also rejected reports that he was considering easing U.S. sanctions on Tehran or allowing Russia or China to take Iran's highly enriched uranium. 조영은, Arirang News.
Israel has issued a sweeping evacuation order for all residents in southern Lebanon, declaring the region a combat zone as fighting with Hezbollah intensifies. The warning comes amid escalating airstrikes, mounting civilian casualties, and growing concerns over mass displacement. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
The Israeli military has warned all residents in southern Lebanon to evacuate the area, declaring the entire region a combat zone following days of intensified airstrikes targeting the militant group Hezbollah. It marks the first time Israel has issued such a broad evacuation warning since U.S. President Donald Trump announced a ceasefire in Lebanon in April. In a social media post on Wednesday, a spokesman for the Israel Defense Forces instructed residents to move north of the Zarani River, saying military operations would continue across southern Lebanon. The Israeli military has recently stepped up strikes on cities and villages in southern Lebanon after Hezbollah launched explosive drone attacks targeting Israeli troops and northern Israeli communities. On Wednesday, Israeli forces struck the southern Lebanese city of Tyre, just hours after issuing warnings of military action. Airstrikes also hit the city of Nabateh, several nearby villages, and areas further north in the Bekaa Valley. Lebanese health authorities say more than 3,200 people have been killed since the conflict sharply escalated in March. The death toll includes hundreds of women and children, along with healthcare workers. Iran has insisted that the fighting along Israel's northern border be included in any formal ceasefire agreement, while Israel has pushed to keep the Hezbollah conflict separate from broader negotiations. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, the Korean government says evidence points to Iran-developed missiles in the recent attack on the HMM Namu, a Korean ship in the Strait of Hormuz. Seoul is demanding an apology from Tehran. Our correspondent Oh Soo-young reports.
Iranian anti-ship missiles were likely used in the attack that set a Korean vessel ablaze in the Strait of Hormuz earlier this month, prompting Seoul to lodge a strong protest and request an apology from Tehran. At a briefing Wednesday, First Vice Foreign Minister Park Yun-ju unveiled the results of a government probe into the attack on the HMM Namu. The Korean vessel was anchored near UAE waters inside the Strait of Hormuz on May 4th, when it was struck twice by unidentified aerial objects. The government says debris recovered from the vessel included components resembling an Iranian-made Tolu-4 turbojet engine, along with markings believed to be from an Iranian manufacturer. The warhead was also found to resemble those used in Iran's Noor or Qadr anti-ship missiles. Officials added that unexploded high-explosive material was identified, while the fuselage debris was painted sky blue, matching the coating and color used on Iran's Noor series anti-ship missiles.
Circuit board debris is estimated to have been produced around 20 to 30 years ago, and based on that production period, it is highly likely to be an older model Noor missile. Technical analysis concluded the unidentified aerial objects were highly likely to be Iran-developed Noor series anti-ship missiles. The probe also found the projectiles approached from the stern, while the vessel was anchored with its stern facing roughly 156 degrees toward Iran.
Park said Seoul would summon the Iranian ambassador, convey a strong protest, and demand an apology, along with responsible measures to prevent a recurrence. With Tehran having denied involvement, Park said it remains difficult to determine whether the attack was intentional or to identify the exact actor behind it. Still, a military official said there appeared to be an intention to cause damage.
While we cannot definitively determine the attacker's intent, from a naval and operational standpoint, firing 2 missiles instead of 1 strongly suggests an intention to inflict damage.
The ambassador arrived at the foreign ministry at around 6:20 p.m. and as he left, denied all allegations, saying Iran had not been involved. Seoul says diplomatic communication with Tehran continues as it works to ensure the safety of Korean nationals and vessels and the free and safe navigation of ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
North Korea says it will never give up its nuclear weapons, rejecting renewed calls for denuclearization from the Quad grouping of the United States, Japan, Australia, and India. In a statement carried on Thursday by the North Korean Central News Agency, a North Korean Foreign Ministry spokesperson said, quote, "There will absolutely and forever be no denuclearization of the regime." Pyongyang accused the Quad of serving Washington's strategy for what it called unipolar domination and condemned the group for pursuing bloc confrontation in the Asia-Pacific. The remarks came after Quad foreign ministers met in New Delhi on Tuesday local time, where they reaffirmed their commitment to the complete denuclearization of North Korea. The joint statement also warned against coercive actions in the East China Sea and South China Sea, in an apparent message aimed at Beijing. The Bank of Korea has announced that its benchmark interest rate will remain at 2.5%. Today's decision came at the first Monetary Policy Board meeting chaired by the newly appointed governor Shin Hyun-sung and marks the central bank's 8th straight rate freeze since May last year. The central bank said it will decide the timing of future rate hikes after assessing inflation pressures, the economy, and financial stability. The decision was backed by 5 of the 7 board members, while 2, including the senior deputy governor, favored a quarter-point hike to 2.75%. The central bank also raised its growth outlook for this year to 2.6%, up from the previous 2%. Early voting for Korea's June 3rd local elections and parliamentary by-elections begins Friday and will continue for 2 days nationwide. Eligible voters can cast their ballots at any early voting station across the country, regardless of where they're registered, with polling stations operating from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. The National Election Commission says polling station locations can be checked on its website and major online portal sites. Voters must bring a valid photo ID showing their date of birth, including a resident registration card, passport, or driver's license. Officials also noted that screenshots or saved images of mobile IDs will not be accepted, and voters must open the official app on site for verification. And Korea moves into a 6-day polling blackout period today, barring the release of new election surveys ahead of voting day. Our An Sung-jin breaks down what the latest polls reveal about voter sentiment.
With just days to go before Korea's local elections, we now enter a polling blackout. Starting from May 28th, publishing or quoting new opinion polls is strictly banned. Now, this is done to ensure a fair race. But before that, let's turn to some poll figures in key battlegrounds as we look at some razor-thin margins. Now, for this whole mayoral race, the ruling Democratic Party candidate Chung Won-ho leads at 42%, with the main opposition People Power Party's incumbent mayor Oh Se-hun chasing at 36%. This 6 percentage point gap sits tightly within the margin of error. Crucially, nearly 20% of voters remain undecided, meaning these fence-sitters may decide the capital. Now let's turn to Daegu, another fierce battleground. The TP's Kim Bu-kyum holds 42%, while the PPP's Chu Kyung-ho is right on his heels at 38%. Again, an 18% undecided bloc keeps this race entirely up for grabs. Meanwhile, the story changes in Busan. The TP's Jeon Jae-soo has secured an outside-the-margin lead at 46%, comfortably ahead of the PPP's Park Hyung-jun at 34%. Candidates have just under a week left to win over a massive chunk of undecided voters, but why do these polls matter so much? Historically, final pre-blackout polls have accurately mirrored the final results. Take the 2022 Seoul mayoral race, where the PPP's Oh Se-hun cruised to a 20 percentage point victory, which almost exactly matched the final polls. The story was the same in 2018 when the DP's Park Won-soon won by nearly 30 percentage points. But polls aren't always a crystal ball, and that is why attention is focused on winning over voters. For these local elections, the mayoral races, alongside high-stakes parliamentary by-elections in Pyeongtaek and Busan Bukgap, are sitting well within the margin of error. Predicting this election is uniquely difficult, as following the former president's impeachment, independent and moderate voters have surged. Shy voters who hide their true leanings from polls may also emerge as a key variable. The 6-day blackout aims to prevent inaccurate polls from unfairly swaying voters. All eyes are now glued to how public sentiment will shift during this blackout period to influence next week's ballot box.
With less than 2 months until the UNESCO World Heritage Committee meeting in Busan, global experts gather Wednesday to discuss Geoheritage conversation and unveil a new Korea-led international declaration. Our Jeong-il was there.
Scientists and heritage experts from around the world gathered in Busan for an international symposium on Wednesday on the future of geoheritage conservation. Hosted by the Korea Heritage Service ahead of the 48th session of the UNESCO World Heritage Committee, the event focused on the launch of the KGA Korea Declaration. KGA, or Key Geoheritage Areas, refers to the internationally significant geological site, including fossils, volcanic landscapes, and rock formations.
We reaffirm that geoheritage is not merely a remnant of the past, but a responsibility owed to future generations, and we hereby declare our collective commitment to protecting its value through the shared resolve and concerted action of the international community.
The symposium also highlighted the significance of Korea serving as a chair country for the upcoming UNESCO session.
Only a few countries in Asia have so far chaired the World Heritage Committee, so it's really, I think, special that Korea is now hosting. World Heritage meetings are 10 days, sometimes sensitive political discussions. So the chairmanship or the chairpersonship has a big impact in influencing those decisions.
Experts also called for stronger international cooperation, saying geoheritage conservation should become a central part of global nature protection efforts. They added that the KGA initiative could help identify important natural heritage sites in countries that currently have none recognized by UNESCO. As Korea prepares to host this year's UNESCO World Heritage Committee meeting here in Busan, the KGA Korea Declaration establishes a new major global system to protect our planet's threatened geological history. 정혜림, Arirang News, Busan.
This is the world now, bringing you everything you need to know from around the globe. As the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo passes 220 suspected deaths and 900 cases, the United States said on Wednesday that it will not allow any Ebola cases to enter the country. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told Trump's cabinet meeting the administration's goal was to contain Ebola to the outbreak region, adding, quote, "We cannot and will not allow any cases of Ebola to enter the United States." The U.S. is in talks with Kenya over opening a quarantine facility there for exposed American citizens. Public health experts questioned the approach, saying patients would be better treated at specialized infectious disease centers in the U.S. or Germany. The U.S. has also imposed 30-day entry restrictions on travelers from Congo, Uganda, and South Sudan and is screening Americans at 3 airports. NVIDIA will spend around $150 billion a year in Taiwan. The tech giant's CEO, Jensen Huang, announced the investment on Wednesday, calling the island the epicenter of the global artificial intelligence revolution and saying that Taiwan will remain the world's technology manufacturing hub for a long time. Huang made the announcement in Taipei at a celebration for the chipmaker's planned Taiwan headquarters, which will break ground this year and be operational by 2030 with 4,000 employees. The facility deepens NVIDIA's ties with TSMC, the world's largest contract chipmaker that produces the advanced semiconductors powering AI. NVIDIA became the first company to reach $5 trillion in market value late last year, and Huang said it will be worth even more in 3 to 5 years. In the U.S., New York and New Jersey have launched a formal investigation into FIFA's World Cup ticketing practices. The Attorneys General issued a subpoena on Wednesday demanding details on how tickets were priced and allocated. The two states are focusing on 8 matches in New Jersey, including the World Cup final, after fans reported receiving seats in lower categories than they paid for. The investigation also covers what critics have called extortionary high ticket prices. FIFA is using dynamic pricing for the first time this year, allowing costs to fluctuate based on demand. The tournament begins June 11th across the United States, Canada, and Mexico. In Laos, 5 people were rescued from a cave on Wednesday after being trapped inside for around a week. Rescuers are still searching for 2 others. The 7 Lao nationals had entered the cave in Saizonbun province to look for gold deposits and wildlife before heavy rain and a landslide blocked their exit. A Thai rescue team, including a diver who participated in the 2018 Thailand cave rescue, joined the operation on Sunday. Videos posted on social media showed the 5 survivors in good spirits, raising their arms and smiling. Chu Ji-hyun, Arirang News.
Cloudy skies have been sticking around for several days now, and today began the same way. Most areas will see up to 5 millimeters of rainfall or less before letting up by the afternoon, and it's going to be sunny and warm on the way back home this evening. So once the clouds move out, sunshine will quickly return, and so will the heat. By Sunday, Seoul could once again reach around 30 degrees Celsius under strong summer sunshine. And this afternoon, Seoul will be getting up to 27 degrees. Daegu, Busan will be warmer at 28 degrees Celsius. Humidity levels will remain fairly high, so even though temperatures are close to seasonal norms, it may feel a bit muggy outside. Meanwhile, UV rays this afternoon could be very high across much of the country, especially in the southern parts of Korea. Skies will turn much sunnier through the weekend, and temperatures will rise quickly, so please take care.
That's all we have for today's noon edition of Arirang News. Thank you for watching. We'll be back at 5 p.m. Korea time. Stay tuned.